We now have the dedication address, and we have two people that are sharing it together. The first one is Reverend Clyde Cruz. He's an active member of the Kentucky Historic Society, a faculty member at Bellarmine, the historian for the Archdiocese of Louisville, and most particularly, a longtime friend of the Ursuline Sisters. Father Cruz will address the historical importance of this site that's just right behind us. Sister Martha Jacob, who is a member of the Ursuline leadership, the archivist for the Ursuline Sisters, will then take it from the historical perspective and move it into how do we continue to carry much influence from the roots of this building. So I turn it over to Father Cruz and Sister Martha.
Good afternoon, and it is a great afternoon to honor through this marker this city, this neighborhood, this commonwealth, and in particular the great Ursuline Sisters. Sister Martha Jacob and I conferred on this as we have on other things over the years, and we decided the key word here would be brief. We thought there was a chance it might be warm, there might be a chance that people would be standing, so this gave us an excuse to be brief. So I'm excited to share the platform here with Dr. Jacob, and she will be talking a little bit about time beyond the arrival. I want to talk about a little bit about the time that the sisters did arrive in the city and what Louisville was like in the late 1850s. Its population was right around 68,000. Making it in the top 12 cities of the United States. By the way, at that time, the largest city in Indiana, you might want to guess, New Albany. So we had kind of like we had like twin cities across the river, no bridges yet, but that's all. By 1860, Indianapolis had moved ahead. 15% of the population, the 68,000 people, were enslaved people in this city. The city was small as we know it now. By the way, this is allergy. I'm sorry, I'm using the best voice I've got from the dimensions of the city were very compact. The river, of course, to the north, to the south. By the middle 1850s, Kentucky Street was the farthest extreme southern boundary of the city. Cave Hill to the east, and Portland, 26th Street to the west. That made up this rather compact, and even so, one of the 12 largest cities in the country. Main Street was a wholesale district. Market Street was the retail market street with 5 market houses. South of Jefferson was all residential. There are just a few buildings still standing downtown from that era that the people we're going to honor today, the 3 arriving foundresses, they would have recognized. The courthouse, the cathedral on 5th Street, the old post office at 3rd and Liberty, and a few of the buildings on Main Street. There are 3 daily newspapers in English, the Courier, the Journal, and the Democrat. There was 1 German paper, not yet a daily, the Anzeiger. And only within the generation before the events we're celebrating today, some significant events. The first school opened in 1829. That's pretty shocking. You know, that's 51 years after the city was founded. The first public school was founded. Presentation arrived on the scene in 1831, and Male High School, the first bona fide high school, in 1856. In 1858, the year of the arrival that we're noting today, it was 1 year before the L&N Railroad was completed. That meant that it was still an era in which the steamboat was the chief means of transportation in this part of the country. It was also 3 years after the Bloody Monday riots that so convulsed the city and this area. Now, the churches, oddly enough, the churches in what we call downtown were clustered in about a 3 or 4 block area. So there was one at each of the major groupings, denominations, in this area that ran from 2nd to 6th and from Chestnut up to about Green Street, that is Liberty Street today. There were 8 Catholic churches, and this is going to segue us into the 3 remarkable women who arrived here in 1858. There were 8 Catholic churches in this city in 1858, and 4 were German-speaking, and 4 were English-speaking. So it tells you how extensively the city had grown, especially through the immigrants, Irish and German in particular, coming into this city. The 4 English-speaking churches were the Cathedral, Our Lady's, St. Patrick's, actually Our Lady's was sort of French-speaking too, St. Patrick's and St. John's nearby. Then the German-speaking churches. The Immaculate Conception are generally known as St. Mary's on 8th Street, St. Boniface, St. Martin's, and St. Peter's. All 4 of these are German-speaking. Now, because the number of Germans were increasing so much, and because the Catholic leadership, especially under Bishop Spalding, were so solicitous for these people, they sought out the help of people who were proven winners in education in Germany, the Ursuline sisters. And so these 3 women came. They left in September, left Straubing in southern Germany, and arrived here in Louisville on Halloween, October 31st, 1858. Silesia Reitmeyer was 26 years old. When I started doing this kind of research 30 or 40 years ago, yeah, that's nice, but now you're like 26 years old. Gosh, that's amazing. To take that kind of a leadership position. Her companion of the same age was Pia Schoenhofer, and then I guess one older person was sent along to be kind of a stability influence if one was needed, and that was Maximilian Zwinger, who was 50 years old, which doesn't seem that old to me. I don't know about you. So these 3 remarkable women came to the city. There's so much when you look at their history, and of course the history I'm working off is Sister Helen Margaret's great Under His Mighty Power. There was so much they had to overcome. They went to book passage to Munich, and they were going to book passage on the Austria, and found out that it had burned at sea with the loss of everybody on board. That would daunt me, I think. So they took passage on the Ariel, which had problems of its own, but it made it over across the ocean here. Now notice that the obstacles they had to overcome: language. They were not native English speaking people. They were here to teach German children, but they quickly had to learn their English. They were facing a lot of hostility, as we said. Bloody Monday riots, anti-Catholic, anti-immigrant riots had taken place since 3 years before. The rigors of travel, especially in that era, and something that I think comes to our attention today, in the hot seasons, they were wearing black. And on a day like this, it makes you appreciate it even more. That Sister Pia became the 3rd head of the order. Of course, the first was Mother Silesia. But I want to note that because in 1881, when she becomes the 3rd head of the community, there are already 180 sisters belonging to this allegiance out of the Louisville Ursuline sisters, and 20 schools. It's really remarkable in a generation. And Sister Martha will talk more about some of this development, but we all know that it's not a cliffhanger, that they will go on to do remarkable educational work from just locally to high schools, the Great Ursuline College, and a wide array of ministries and services that continue to this day. So they were people of enormous faith and hope, and certainly love. I would add, in addition to those 3 great virtues, they subscribed to so deeply faith, hope, and love, and I think we'd all add, because the Ursulines take that vow of education, intelligence, because this is one of the great gifts that they brought to this community, and to this Commonwealth, and to a much wider region. So we celebrate them particularly today for their faith, hope, love, intelligence, and not least of which for their courage and their grit. Sister Martha, Dr. Jacob, take it away, please.